Welcome to the Q3 Life Insurance News Podcast, brought to you by Quality Quick Quote. We pride ourselves on making the process of purchasing life insurance stress-free, approachable, and fun. Buying life insurance can seem bleak, but with our trusted agents, partners, and weekly advice, you will never be alone in this endeavor. Q3 Life Insurance News, tangible advice for navigating the complex waters of life insurance. So I had talked a little bit about buy term and invest the rest in the previous segment. I wanted to talk further about that. I really want to dissect that for you. What does it mean? How does it affect you? And, it's one of the more common things out there now. A lot of financial guys are talking about, buy term, invest the rest. Of course, we know some of the more famous ones on the radio are talking about this. And in a lot of ways, I really and truly do believe in this train of thought. And here's the difference. Here's why it's important to think this way. If you buy a whole life policy and part of that premium, you're still paying for the coverage, you're still paying for the life insurance protection, but part of that money that you're spending for that really expensive policy is going to a quote-unquote forced savings plan. It's an old school way of doing life insurance. Before the days of level term, 10, 15, 20, and 30-year level terms, term life it really was not a great product. It wasn't a great product because it was only what was considered annual renewable term. What that meant was every year your price went up based on your age. By the time you got into your 50s and 60s, even before then, in a lot of cases, that coverage was now a lot less affordable, and you could have bought a whole life and saved that money anyway. Well, now that you can lock in a level premium, let's say you're 30 years old, you can lock in a 30-year level term. You're going to pay a fraction of the cost of what a whole life policy is going to do for you, and you've got the protection that you need. Now, here's the train of thought. If the term life policy is $20 a month and the whole life policy is, realistically, simple math, it's about $120 a month for the same coverage. That's $100 a month difference. You take $100 a month and you invest it. Your rate of return at the end of 30 years is much greater than what your rate of return will be in that whole life policy, pulling the cash value out in 30 years. So essentially, you've just taken your money and made more of it. Whereas whole life, you're still paying for the protection. The forced savings plan, it really and truly never performs the way that it actually should. So that's why you buy term and invest the rest. Now, whole life is still a good product if, let's say you're 65 years old, 70 years old, you need $10,000 for a burial policy. Well, $10,000 doesn't really look like much on a 10-year level term if you're 60, 70 years old, and you're paying about the same, maybe a little less of what you would for a whole life for that kind of coverage anyway. In those situations, I do recommend whole life because you just need a burial policy. You need something for final expense. Final expense, guess what? It's no matter what, that is an expense that's going to happen. Not maybe, it's definite going to happen. So why not have a final expense policy that is going to be there for the rest of your life? It just makes a lot more sense. Plus, the reality is, I was looking at an interesting statistic the other day. Somebody who is 60 years old and very healthy, their average life expectancy is actually to age 90. That's pretty incredible if you think about it. And there is no term policy that you can get at age 60 that'll take you to age 90. You can only do that in a whole life, or in some cases, a universal life, like a no-lapse guarantee universal life. But either way, I wanted to just really dive into the buy term and invest the rest. In most cases, I would say 95% of all people who are looking at life insurance really and truly need to look at term life insurance, because you can buy term and you can invest the rest, and you can spend a fraction of what you're spending for the protection that you need to take care of your family if something were to happen, and you can set aside for investing on your own. That, guess what? It's your money. It's not the insurance companies. Thanks for joining us today on the Q3 Life Insurance News Podcast. We're here to answer any questions you have regarding life insurance. Call us today toll-free at 1-844-571-7877. Licensed insurance agents are standing by and excited to assist you today.